I'm going to say take it away, Berlinda.
Okay, great. So we are going to review several policies today, but first of all, let me ask Alex, do we have any, let me call the meeting to order. Okay, that's
Perfect.
number uno. And now I would like to ask Alex if we have any kind of public comments and non-agenda item.
No public comments been received. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so
Briefly, for the record, too, I just want to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded. It's also being simulcast on our YouTube channel.
but first of all, let me ask Alex, do we have any, let me call the
Here we go.
Thanks. Okay, so as we go on, it's good to see you, Alex, our student trustee. I'm happy you're here today. And I did enjoy you last week when you did your presentation. That was very awesome. So what we'll do today, we're tasked in reviewing quite a few number of policies, which I'm sure will be on our board meeting next week. So we will start with them, and I will turn it over to our own Crystal, unless our superintendent have anything she would like to say. She says,
no, I just want to say, as always, Crystal is the rock star of bylaws and policies.
I go that far.
I know, it's like she's a rock star for a lot of things, but especially for this. And I think for the most part, these are pretty routine, but what she'll do is walk us through what's changed. And so with that, take it away, Crystal.
Okay, Alex, are you going to pop these up on the screen for me?
You need to share the screen. Is that what you're asking for?
I mean, I can pop them up or you can pop them up, but I can't share because you disabled it.
Why don't you go ahead? I have unlocked sharing, so you should be able to do it.
Okay, great. Let's
and
go.
Here to help troubleshoot if we need to.
All right, let me see if I can find it because I have so many of them. Show all windows. There we go. And I am going to start with 2015, which is student member.
Yep.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
yes.
Good. There's only really one reason that you're looking at this one, and that's because under student trustee privileges, back in the day, you guys said that each year on or before May 15th, you would review the privileges offered to a student member. So it is your responsibility to do that. So here it is. This is what you said a student trustee could do.
So anyone have any questions? Because I don't.
Nope. Sounds pretty straightforward to me.
Okay, so if you are not going to make any changes to this, you have the option of either moving it to the full board for them to review and understand it, or you can tell me to just go ahead and said it's been reviewed and dated as reviewed without changes.
Reviewed from my perspective, we should take it to the board.
Okay, no problem. I'm making up to board. Okay, let's go on to the next one, which is 2355. Find that one.
Can I jump in with a quick question, just clarification of the process?
Mm-hmm.
If we're taking action at this committee meeting, do we need to do a roll call vote on those actions, Erica, or are you comfortable just going with what we've been doing here?
I think we can go with what we're doing unless, as we're going along, one of the trustees has an objection or it's clear that it wouldn't be from affirmation, and then in which case we might want to take it separately. What I would recommend is unless there are disagreements at the conclusion of all of this review, one single motion indicating the aforementioned board bylaws and policies have been reviewed and are being sent forward to the entire board.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Brown, this is the next one. This is board policy 2355, decorum. There has been some recent First Amendment decisions, and this bylaw was revised to reflect those recent First Amendment decisions. And as you can see, the first one gets crossed out, and then the second one, we crossed out profanity, obscenity, other offensive language, and went to disrupting, disturbing, or otherwise impeding orderly conduct of the meeting.
I had a question on the last paragraph on the first page. If order cannot, when you remove, I'm just asking because I was part of this few years back. If order cannot be restored when someone, you know, or just willfully badging someone or what have you, how do you remove them? And I imagine you have our police officer remove them,
Yeah.
but how do we, if we had to leave the room, let's just say the board had to leave the room because that has happened before,
Right.
what do we do?
So I think the answer, and Crystal, correct me if I'm wrong, I think in that situation, the many years ago, the fact is that you all should have stayed in the room and everyone else should have been asked to leave or basically shown the door, because it is, because you were the ones conducting the meeting, and especially because it's not as relevant in this moment, but for any other board meeting, the actual location of the board meeting is posted. And so on that evening, unless I'm wrong, the board location was Creveling Lounge. So when you people retreated to a different room for your own safety, I'm not questioning that. It really should have been the reverse. You all should have stayed in Creveling Lounge and the public should have been ushered out.
Okay, Tony, do you have anything to add to that?
No. Do you know, I read all these yesterday and I made notes, but I can't get them up here. So I just have to remember. But no, I had no problem with this one.
Okay, so basically, if I'm understanding correctly, then if this was to occur again, then we should have our police officers escort everyone out of the room.
Yes.
And continue our meeting.
That is correct. And as you see in there, you still get to consider matters that are on the board for any sort of decision making. And I believe that we actually, if for any reason we're challenged, would be fine, because every single meeting is also on our YouTube channel. And it's broadcast, it's posted, it's all of that. So I think this is legal, and we actually go another step forward by having everything on our YouTube channel.
I just want to clarify for Trustee Brown, in that incident where we were both at that meeting. I think actually the board acted correctly, because I do think it was okay for them to adjourn the meeting, move to another area until we cleared the room, and then brought you back and resumed the meeting.
That piece had never been told to me, that you adjourned the meeting.
Yeah, okay. And we did that for the trustees' safety in order to move them into, because if I remember that correctly, that evening, Trustee Brown, they were coming behind you, the protesters were behind you, and it was quite scary. So I think it's fair to have the meeting adjourned, move you to a room, another room, clear the room, and then bring you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that clarification, Crystal, because as the story was told in a little bit different fashion to me, and there are two missing details of the story. Thank you.
And this is why you're the rock star. Thank you.
Oh,
okay,
no.
so this is good.
No, let me just say it was a very memorable night.
Oh,
wasn't it though?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have no other questions, I think I'm okay with it going to the board.
Okay. Okay, let's go to 2430. Whoops. Share. 2430. Here we go. Share. Okay, 2430. There are no changes to this whatsoever. It's just that this was last reviewed in, as you can see, 2014. So it's on the cyclical review cycle for you to look at again.
Very good.
And this is very important for accreditation purposes. We need to make sure we've adhered to our cycle of policy review.
So we have to do this what, every year?
No, every 6 years is
Every
good.
6
And
years.
so we're in
Yeah.
the sixth.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next.
Okay. Hang on, we're gonna go on to 2710. Let me just find that. Okay. Conflict of interest. This is always a big one. Can everybody see this? Yes. So I will just go down. Some of the changes that were made to this was category 5 disappeared, as did this paragraph after category 5 were struck based on recommendations from CCLC and I believe from the county. They also contacted us. We changed the titles under the designated positions. You can all see that. We added some titles, changed some titles, added more, and just a few other corrections here. And then this was new. Individuals who perform under contracts the identical duties of any designated position shall be required to fill statements of economic interest disclosing reportable interest in the categories assigned to the designated position. This is for people we might bring in, contractors, personal service agreements, to make sure that they understand they also have to file the disclosure forms.
Any questions?
It's fine.
We're good. Alex, our student, does he have any questions? I guess not. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go on to then 2715. Find it, here we go. This is Code of Ethics, Standards of Practice for the Board of Trustees. There's really only one modification, and is this one here, which says, additionally, board members shall refrain from conducting an independent investigation of college operations. That is a recommended change from CCLC.
So I just want to be clear, I did not recommend the change, but I wholeheartedly support it.
I think this is a good change.
Can I just say in number 3, I think there's an and missing because it's two, there are two. The second sentence after the semicolon is a sentence fragment.
So what would you like, an and where the semicolon is?
I think it should be a comma instead of a semicolon.
Okay.
Or to recognize that it sets an example for the entire institution, comma, and therefore acts with integrity and therefore.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I have
okay.
Yeah. We're good.
Okay. We're gonna go on to 2716. There it is.
Alex, just so you know, Alex Sarkeesian is having a problem with being double muted or something.
Uh-oh.
So could you check that since you're the driver, I think?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, there are absolutely no revisions to this that I made. This is again part of the cyclical review. You last looked at it in August of 2014.
Okay.
You're back now, Alex, yes?
The fines for this are very stringent too.
Oh, I imagine.
You may lose your seat.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
All good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a voice.
Yeah, there you are.
So good
Look, I
to
have
hear.
2 more members of my helpers.
Yay.
Oh my God. Oh, I see them now.
Don't let them vote.
No, those are 2 other helpers in addition to the fluffy one.
Okay, this is board member compensation. Again, no revisions. It's just cyclical review. You last looked at it in October of 2014.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next.
Okay. All right. On to 3410, non-discrimination. Which I think we used to call discrimination. I don't know why.
Well, because we didn't want a policy that instructed people as to how. We wanted
Hi.
colleges to not discriminate.
I had a quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It was about the last policy. Sorry, my mute is going
That's
on and
okay.
off for some reason. I know right now there's. I don't think it's gonna be passed for a while, but this is called AB 2910. It's basically pushing for a bunch of student trustee privileges and stuff. Yeah, Eric knows about it. But I know. I know one of them is about compensation and stuff. I know I'm compensated, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know there was something about it with like it being the same as board members. If that does pass, I just wanted to know if like that we'd have to revise any policy if that happened down the
Yeah,
road.
if that passes, we would have to revise our policy to reflect what's passed into law. Mhm.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I think it would be done in board bylaw 2015, the student member.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so non-discrimination, lots of changes here. All of the bolding is the new language.
And this is recommended by CCLC, correct?
Yep, this is their model policy.
And I just want to point out that the last paragraph on this page has been reviewed by our lawyers, because if you recall, we did discuss this about a year ago, and one of the trustees had a concern about it. Not that part, but the last paragraph on the first page.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, yes.
But it has been, that policy, that paragraph in particular conforms to the CCLC language and has been vetted by our attorney. And we have had it confirmed that that the wording of that does not mean that if an individual who is on the board personally contributes to an organization that violates this policy, or if a student works at or for a company that has policies in place that violate this, that any harm shall come to them. That is not what is in this policy. Just want to lay it out there because it might come up when this goes to the board.
So I'm trying to find where this is.
It's the paragraph that says no district funds shall ever be used for membership or for any participation involving financial payment or contribution on behalf of the district or any individual employed by or associated with it to any private organization whose membership practices are discriminatory. You see that one? Yeah. So let me just say too that this is already the current language in here.
It's not new, but when we were looking at this policy a year ago, one of the trustees was concerned with the wording of it, believing that somehow that it referred to the actions of the individual. And we did have it vetted, and if this comes up at the board meeting, I'm going to say that, but I'm also going to emphasize the fact that this has nothing to do with individuals and what they do in their private life. It has to do with no district funds. No district funds. It has to do with what we do as a district, not what individuals do or whatever their personal, private choices are. This policy has nothing to do with it. And there was a big concern, and we listened to the concern, and we really have done what we need to do. Just saying.
And this comes from the Community College League?
Yes.
You said, okay.
This is the model policy.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
All right.
Okay. We're going to go on to BP 3500. This next three, which I'm going to show you: campus safety, campus security and access, and emergency response plan, are actually all legally required board policies that we have not had on the books. Mike Bush brought these forward to me, and we are moving them through. I'm going to find 3500 for you.
Alex, can you double check to see if Linda was in the waiting room?
I just admitted somebody on the phone.
Okay, that must be her. Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and unmute that person right now. Hello, caller, you're in the meeting.
Yeah, me,
Who is it, please?
Linda.
Oh, hi, Linda. Thank you.
Hi, sorry.
Any questions?
Do you have any questions, Linda, or anyone else?
No.
No, I didn't have any questions.
Okay, so let's talk about 3,500.
Okay. Again, this is a new policy that is legally required if you have a campus safety department, which we do.
You do.
So we should have already had this on the books, but we did not. But we do. We're trying to now.
Okay, great.
Okay, next one.
Next, yeah.
Okay. We're going to go on to campus security and access.
And Linda, just so you know, we're reviewing all the policies, and then at the conclusion, there'll be a single motion to send forward to the board.
Okay, thanks, Erica. I'm sorry I'm on the phone, so I'm
That's
driving,
okay.
so I'm listening. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so this is good.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah.
Again, it's legally required and we have not had it on the books. Okay. Let's go on to the next one.
Hmm.
We're going to do 3505. 3505. There we go. Share. Okay. A little more involved. As you can see, a couple of pages here, but this is about us having an emergency response plan in place. And clearly we should.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new policy. It's legally required. It's one we should have on the books. It's also one that'll help guide us as we work through these various emergency response plans that we need to have.
Yep.
So do we do this like employees are trained or retrain once a year, or how does that work?
So we have not done this historically as a college. We did start to do some of the emergency training back in the fall. Mike Bush brought Mike Cataley, who is a firefighter, a former firefighter, and the chief of the Fire Academy at Oxnard College, to come and do the training, to do one piece of the training. And then there's going to be follow-up training. Plus we are working on getting, we're going to have all of the executive team do the NIMS and SIMS training. Some of us already have the training, like I've already been trained on, I think I have certifications in most, if not all of these. And we do have an emergency response plan, but we need to tighten it up. Thankfully, we had enough of one. Plus, we had a pandemic plan, and Alex took the lead on turning that into our aerosol transmission. Why am I always forgetting this, Alex? Disease plan.
Aerosol transmissible disease plan.
Right. So we were able to do that and respond quickly to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have it all. It's not in perfect shape, but we're working on it.
So as we move forward, we will be doing this on a yearly basis? Or?
Oh, absolutely. We should be having a tabletop exercise every single year. And what we used to do at my last institutions is we would have a tabletop exercise. It might be an active shooter incident. It could be a fire. It could be something like that. And, you know, we've done a lot of different ones. There's a lot of options out there.
Okay.
So, Erica, thank you for doing that. It's actually something I've been asking for this president before, so I'm really thankful that you understand this issue. And I know that the details still have to be worked out, and the six topics have to be worked out. So when that happens, we'll get with you it would be helpful, I think, if the board has some insight into that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, if we hadn't had the pandemic, you probably would have seen more of a plan, and I think even a tabletop early this summer. At least that's what Mike and I were talking about. But it's a little more difficult to do now that we don't have people on campus. So it's definitely something that we're working on, and you absolutely have my commitment, because having dealt with, I had 3 of these incidents at actual potential incidents at LA Valley College. So I've been through 3 of them. I had 2 of them at Oxnard, had 1 of them at Santa Barbara. And so I have a lot of experience doing these, both in real time as well as tabletop exercises. So I completely agree. You have to practice this stuff in order to get it right when you have a real incident.
Great, thank you very much.
At least
Yeah.
we hope we will.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Any
Yeah.
other questions? Anyone else?
No?
Alex, student Alex Sarkis, do you have any questions from a student perspective?
Well, having muting troubles. I'll try to get him back here in just a second. I don't know what's going on.
Hello, I have a voice. I just wanted to ask if there were to like, I don't know if this would be this board policy or something else or a different area, but kind of like an emergency plan put for like this, I guess, a switch to pass, no pass, and just like grading policies and stuff like that. I feel like this is kind of going into like the guidelines for the professors and all that stuff. But I mean, and the institution as a whole. But if this would be a policy we could do, or a policy in another area for kind of a plan for what the switch would be.
Yeah, Alex, that would have to fall in the 4000s in the academic affairs, and it would probably be in, trying to remember if it's 4010 or 4020 that deals with grading. So that would be the more appropriate place for it, because it number one, it has to be vetted by the faculty, and it would actually be tied to what the overarching grading policies are of the college. And given that we've just gone through the whole EW and all of that, I think it's timely for us to take a look at that and add it to our existing policy.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move this one also forward.
Okay, we're going to go on to then 3515.
Yes. All crimes, huh?
Where
Yep.
is 3515?
I do.
Fighting on me.
Reporting of crimes.
Can you
Oh,
read?
here we go. All right, yes, it's way down there at the bottom. Reporting, yeah, reporting, I always like that one. Okay, this is a legally required policy that we have not had on the books. I am told by our Vice President of Business Administrative Services that this is something you need to have on the books as part of your Clery Act regulations. So we're bringing it forward, so we will have it on the books. And it is a new one.
Any questions? Alex, I'm going back to you because you guys are the ones that are on ground all the time around campus. Do you have any problem, or do you think this addresses all we need to address?
I think with campus police's presence and honestly just like kindness, yeah, I don't think students have issues with reporting anything or yeah, I think we're good.
So this is good, thank you. Okay, I'm good with it. Tony, any questions, Tony?
I'm fine.
Okay, great, next.
We're gonna go on to 3720. 3720. I can't find that one. 3720, okay. Okay, computer and network use, only a very slight change just in the first sentence. And it is also part of your cyclical review because you haven't reviewed it since March 15th in 2000. Ooh.
Oops. And computers were a little bit different in those days.
Yeah.
Okay, Missy, I'm okay with it.
That's fine.
Linda, any questions, any thoughts?
I'm okay.
Okay,
With their, sorry, in this case, if there is a, I can look more into it too, but if there's a board meeting and a student trustee was like lacking technology and stuff, would this policy go into that at all?
Well, the administrative procedure could address that, but the policy itself, no.
Okay.
so you're okay with it?
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Next,
Okay, and last but not least.
The
going
thing
back.
I asked Crystal about on my second day
Yeah,
at Pasadena City College. Serious.
and she went sheet white.
What do you mean we don't have time, place, and manner? We need it.
So time, place, and manner, we've been working on this since I arrived at the college. So for 14 years, we've been trying to put this in place.
Been decided for 20 years or so in the state constitution.
So we have had it vetted and revetted and vetted again and revetted one more time by legal counsel to make sure that this is as airtight as we can make it. In other words, so the college doesn't get sued. And this is it, the final version of time, place, and manner, which is really talking about the places on campus where we allow freedom of speech from inside and outside groups and how we're going to handle that.
Hmm. This is a hard one.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, any thoughts, fellow?
I also think that one of the things that we did, it's not so much that we're concerned about the public areas on campus. We were more concerned about having issues with classes being disrupted or the educational process being disrupted. And that's why we really put this in place.
This was decided by the Supreme Court. This is, all cities have this.
Well, and I think the important thing to say is that the important way to look at it, I should say, is that it is as much about ensuring the right to free expression as it is to protecting individuals who are just going about their business and somebody just kind of comes up to them, gets in their face, and if that person who feels like they've been affronted by this person in their face, if they say, you know, back off, or they ask somebody from the college to help them, you know, protect them from this individual who is in their face, that individual could say, if we don't have this kind of policy in place, that we were abridging their right to freedom, you know, or expression. And the fact is that we welcome freedom of expression and freedom of speech, but there is a time and there is a place and there is a manner for it.
Yeah. This came about during the demonstrations for abortion and abortion groups. And it's been decided by the Supreme Court, and it's a very good, everybody should have that entity. Good.
Yeah. And Pierce College got sued over this because what they did was they had a freedom of speech, a free space for speech that was tiny. I mean, like 16 feet by 16 feet on a campus of 420 acres. And so they were challenged because some groups came, they wanted to speak freely, and the college made them, quote, get a permit. And then they limited where they could be, and they sued, and Pierce lost.
I think Linda was trying to chime in. Linda?
Well, I was just going to say I'm just quite surprised that we didn't. This is new for us because I know we've been talking about it for some time. But I did want to say that I think it's. I'm glad we're adopting this, or that we will. It's up for discussion to be adopted. But I think it's timely, considering the hate rhetoric and the resolutions that many of our districts are passing on the hate rhetoric.
Right, right, absolutely. And you know, I think part of it, and you know, I mean, I'm of many minds on this, but I think part of the difficulty in passing these kinds of policies is that it's very easy for people to misinterpret it as the board is trying to limit. And sometimes when people get it in their heads that this is about limiting rather than, allowing and ensuring, then there tends to be a knee-jerk response to it, like, oh, you just don't want free speech. Like, no, actually that's not the case. So
I think this is very appropriate and timely. So I think this is our last one, right, Crystal?
Yeah. Good
Okay,
job.
so now we have to move to vote to send it to the board. Is that correct? Okay, so do I have a motion for us to take this to the board meeting? I guess
You can do it by consensus.
I can't hear you, Belinda.
Move to accept.
Okay, and a second, please.
Yeah, that's fine. But you can do it by acclamation.
I understand. Could you give us a second, Tony?
Yeah, but yeah, that's fine. You can have a motion or you can just send it to the board. Fine. Second.
Thank you. So all in favor? Belinda is in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, fellow trustees. Okay,
thank you, Crystal.
Crystal, you're the girl. You are it.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, so now what we're going to have is an update on our accreditation update, correct?
Yes, I could
Oh.
actually let you do it, right?
Oh my God. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give my part and you could give your part. So I have been chiming in every week for the accreditation committee, the standing committee. And I must say that the group that they call the committee, they are really, really on it. The conversations, the writings, everything, the meetings go so well. And I have learned a lot. I am so happy that I'm on that committee because I've learned much more about the college operations and who does what through this committee. So I think we are going to be on it when the team comes. They're doing a fantastic job. The college is looking very good. Okay.
Belinda?
Yes.
Belinda?
Yes.
I have made this recommendation before, but I hope that you will consider that to have all of our trustees be more engaged in understanding the accreditation and their role in accreditation, that we find some way to more actively engage them. I've given some recommendations, but if we can give some thought to that, I think it would be helpful for us.
Can I just offer to that given that we are going to have an accreditation visit in March of 2021, I already had in mind that probably in August or September, we would have a board study session about accreditation that could be both part training and then review of what we're of the institutional self-evaluation report that is being worked on now. And obviously Berlinda will be our resident expert, but I think, your point is well taken, Linda, in that, accreditation only really comes around once every 6, and now it'll be 7 years. And the board does change over, and accreditation requirements and standards change. For example, in your last accreditation cycle, the quality focus essay was not required, and now it is. And so it's a different type of document. It's been streamlined, and our college will go through the last cycle. Ours will be the last cycle to go through the visit as we currently know it, because starting in fall 2021, the way that accreditation visits are handled will be completely different. It will be over a longer period of time. It will be what's called formative and then summative evaluation. And so this is really the last time. I can also pretty much guarantee you it will be a virtual visit because I am chairing a team to Cuesta College, and my team assistant will be none other than Crystal Colross in the last week of September to Cuesta. And the ACCJC has already decided it will be a virtual visit, even if we're not on lockdown, quarantine, or whatever. And they're actually really happy about doing this because one of their concerns had been trying to break out of the 4 days. Everybody comes to campus. It costs a lot of money because everybody puts everybody up in hotels and all of that. And it also lends itself to, in some cases, a lot of unnecessary, we need this and we have all these questions. Like having a virtual visit through Zoom is, I think, going to show much more targeted, much more concise questioning, and probably a deeper analysis, which is what we want from an accreditation process. Accreditation visits are a good thing. They're good for the college because the college gets a chance to examine itself, and they're good for the college because an external visiting team comes and has a chance to validate what it is the college thinks it's doing well. And it's another set of eyes to point out places where we could be doing better. So we will do that study session in early fall and get all the trustees ready for this. Absolutely. Point well taken.
Great. Thank you so much, Erica. And it is something, I think, as you said, the board changes. We don't know how often that would happen, but as we get new trustees, it's so important for them to really understand their role in this. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Good point, Linda. Okay, any other comments?
Okay, well, let me just say I am happy to report that we have all of the standard narratives submitted. We're very excited about that. And the Accreditation Standing Committee has already reviewed Standard 2 and Standard 3. We're very excited about that.
President.
Yes. And if anybody's interested, the introduction, Standard 2 and Standard 3 are available on the college's accreditation website for third-party comments. So if anybody who has not seen them wants to go in there and look at them, they are there. You can comment on them. This summer, Dr. Thea Alvarado, who is my faculty accreditation coordinator, and if you haven't met her, you should meet her because she's a total rock star. She is doing amazing things. And just so you know, she is also an awesome online instructor. She's been doing DE for a long time and she does it really well. And not only is she working with me on accreditation, but she is also helping her faculty colleagues to be better instructors online, and she's spending a lot of time doing that too.
I had her for sociology class. She was amazing.
Yeah, she's just super. So this summer, Dr. Alvarado and I will be doing the final edits, collecting the final evidence, aligning and numbering the evidence, preparing the final document for the fall 2020 shared governance review and the submission to ACCJC. The final document should come to the board in December, but hopefully we'll have given you previews of it and you'll have reviewed it before we get to the final approval stage. We'll also be working on the final drafts of the QFEs this summer because those will also have to go through shared governance in the fall.
Quality focus essay.
Yes. And we have two topics that we're doing. One is addressing the needs of our part-time students, and the other is about collegial communication, which Alex Buckelheit is heading up for me.
Wonderful. Okay, any other comments before do we have any future agenda items that we need to talk about?
Can we ask about the meeting schedule? Crystal, do you have a sense that quarterly schedule is good? Do you have a recommendation, or is this more ad hoc in terms of timing?
Oh, that's how it is that I'm held up by how things go through the shared governance process here. And the longer it takes on campus. So I would like to say if we had quarterly meetings, I could then move along the shared governance process and tell them they need to have these ready and prepared for quarterly board meetings.
Do you have a sense that any will come through between now and our last shared governance in June? What's your sense of policies?
Well, I just did the College Council agenda for May. And all of those that we reviewed in April, I put back on the agenda for May.
Okay.
And I just sent out an email to all of the shared governance leaders, Senate, management, and academic and Matt, classified and I said, where these are going to be on the next agenda, please be sure you've had them reviewed and are prepared to speak to them. So I think that's like 4 or 5 more.
Okay, so maybe we should think about another policy committee towards the end of June, beginning of July, and that would both get those policies as well as another accreditation update.
Correct. That would be great.
Okay.
I think, Linda, you had something you want to say?
So, Billy, what I was going to say, hearing Crystal, and I understand that so much of this is dependent on how quickly the Academic Senate, I guess, can move. But even if we just had this on our calendars for quarterly or whatever it turns out to be, and then we can always just not have the meeting if there's nothing to be brought forward. But at least we have it on our schedule to move forward. And as Erica said, then it kind of might spur the Academic Senate to move on a little more quickly if they know there's sort of a window of opportunity to get this out.
So why don't we start the quarter in July? So we'll schedule one for July and then on a quarterly basis going forward and see if we can cover everything. But just know there will be an accreditation self-study. There'll be an accreditation board study session. So in the early fall, that's related to accreditation. So maybe in that July meeting, Crystal can talk a little bit more about the status of the report. And then the study session is when the full board will get all of the information.
I also have more board bylaws that need to go through the cyclical review. So July might give me an opportunity to bring some of those forward as well.
Okay, great.
Yes, Linda.
Great. Thank you. No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Wonderful. So great meeting, you guys. Go ahead, Tony.
Before we leave, I didn't have, I read all the policy statements today, but I didn't have the hard copy, and it just occurred to me. One question I had was on the student trustee. And did I read it right that a student trustee can be someone who just is taking 5 units a semester?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
You know,
Is that the policy at most youth colleges, or?
I think that there is some ed code on this that we have to deal with. I think we tried to change it and then we got kind of hammered because ed code said we couldn't.
Yeah, I think it is in ed code how many units it has to be.
I also know in our Associated Students meeting recently, we had a meeting 2 days ago where they passed that if someone wanted to run, just in any of the positions, including trustee, there was we actually lowered the unit amount to 5 just for this semester in particular, because of all of this and stuff, just in case someone has to drop a class and still wants to run. I personally, so we lowered it in AS a few years ago. So I think, but before we lowered it to 5, I think to 6, and that was just in case there was a student that was like DSPS or another program on campus where they had, they could, only handle so many classes, things like that. So I know that was their thinking when they passed it then.
Okay, I just didn't think. I think it should be more.
So I had a question.
Go ahead,
I had
Linda.
a question. So yes, I'm really pleased to see this, and I hope that Erica, we might send this to the league as evidence of what we think is the right thing to do. But I was curious on the one part where it says every year on May 15th, the board will consider whether or not the student members have these privileges. And I always assumed that these were the privileges and it's not granted year by year. And I'm wondering why we would be considering it each year.
It's required that you do it.
It's required because it potentially every board of trustees, even though it doesn't happen, your membership can change from year to year. And the student changes from year to year. And so the board of trustees, this is an affirmational thing. And in my experience, it is, once this is established this way, then the board just affirms it, welcomes in the new trustee, the new student trustee, and says, great to have you. We're so excited to give you all of these things. But it has to be affirmed that that the Board of Trustees in its current composition agrees with this.
So I've never seen us actually affirm this, unless it's just lack of not affirming it, then it automatically is affirmed. So I am uncertain how this is clearly handled, I guess.
I think we have I think it's in the board agenda. I'll look back at it, but I think we've done it in the board agenda, don't you, Crystal?
Yeah, I'm not sure the last time you actually did it. I was going through in order to set this meeting up, and I realized this one hadn't been looked at. I also think that one of the things that you have done is in your subcommittee meeting, since you didn't make any changes, you didn't move it to the full board.
Yeah.
Okay, and just one other question. So I know, so you know, this whole issue of the student rights has been out on the table with the Student Senate, and I know Alex has been a strong voice on what he thinks is right. So in the league handbook, it does say that the student, their recommendation is that the student trustee have all the same privileges as an elected trustee, except in closed session and in issues of personnel litigation. So we've always, I think, pretty much done that. But I'm not sure that we always consistently handle communication. Do they get all the same communication? Are they invited to the same things? Just general things. I mean, where do we draw the line on when that happens, or if that happens? Maybe that's like an AP or something, or I don't know.
I mean, personally, I have felt very in the loop. I know there was a board retreat, or I don't know what the word attached to it was, in the last few months, and I asked Erica, do I need to be there? And she was like, no, it's not really I forgot what her exact answer was, but it wasn't in a way of no, you're not invited and stuff like that. It was more of a,
you don't need to be there. He could have been there, but he didn't need to be there. That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
So I think, when we have a student trustee like Alex, who's been quite affable and very easy to work with and very collegial, it's easy to make those decisions, but sometimes we might have different personalities. And then if a student trustee gets treated differently, then I wonder if that causes conflict. So I think we need to give some thought to some consistency on these.
Well, I don't think obviously I've only spanned 2 student trustees, but in my experience, we've treated them both the same. So
I think you have Erica, but I think some of us have been on the board where we have some differences, and of course it depends on the personality.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just to be consistent that just maybe give that some thought in case we do get one who is more,
contentious.
I don't know.
I know that I went to more conferences and stuff than Zainab did last year, but from my understanding, that was just because of her schedule, and she was a STEM major, and it was a lot harder for her to miss class. So I can ask her opinion on this too.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was an issue of, you guys like me more than Zainab, which, I know you do, obviously, but
that's why you put that in your phone.
Exactly.
You're my favorite PCC student.
Exactly. Number one. Yeah.
Well, I think we have been very fortunate to just have really, truly wonderful leaders. But I think Tony and Berlinda and I can certainly attest, and probably Crystal can attest, that, there have been some contentious, there have been some contentions. So just, we need to be mindful, I think, of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the struggle for me as a superintendent president is that for the most part, Alex does get everything that you all get, but he doesn't get everything because sometimes the information that I send you contains confidential information that I can't share with him. And so, you know, but he does get invited to committee meetings, and he does get invited to, and he did get invited to the, we did talk about the retreat. And so I think that's what we have to do, is just make sure that every every part of the business of the district that a student can be involved in, that they are included. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, maybe that's a good way to put it, because, there, hopefully the day doesn't come, but someday you may decide you want to fly off and do something else, and we won't have you, and we won't have that voice of reason. And I think the board itself just needs to be clear on how we handle these things.
I just want to make a statement. I am not planning to go anywhere. Okay.
Oh no, I wasn't.
That was just.
You can't now. You're in quarantine.
She knows something. Just saying.
You don't even get to leave your room.
I know. I don't even get to leave my room. Where am I going to go?
Erica, I told you, I think that we all hope that you will never leave this college, and that this is the last assignment you'll have.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Wait,
So basically, I think Linda are we here? So
Yeah.
Linda had opened her question about the privileges of the student trustees. And I think it's a good point, but for us to be able to have something concisely where we put it in writing, it could become a problem, because some is just about people. Some people are more likable and they do more things, get into the loop, more agreeable than others. So yeah, we have had some quite interesting students, and we're still paying for some of it. So basically, we like Alex, and we like the trustee before Alex as well. And we've had a good set of trustees, students lately, but we've had our share. But anyhow, we are going to, if we don't have any other subject to discuss. Yes, Alex?
I don't think this is like a policy or anything, but I know last year, because I was in a fun spicy election scandal, that my election was like June 5th, like just me being elected and stuff, and I didn't start until about July. And I know it says June 1st here, and I assume for June, Zainab still was in her role, just so there would be a student voice. But I've got two questions, and for this year, in this case, like for the June meeting, will the new student trustee be assuming the role? And then if it does happen where the election gets delayed, shall pass this June 1st date, how strict do we have to be to this bylaw?
Well, that's actually a different bylaw. That's 2105.
Yeah.
But we can certainly look at the language in that one and write in exceptions if they happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So is May, sorry, this is like technical, but May is my last meeting? I think just
Technically, yes, May would be your last meeting.
Oh, Alex.
I know, Alex. Well, are we going to know at the May meeting on May 20th what your choice was? Because you and I did have a long conversation. I'm dying to know.
The thing is, I did commit to CalArts, but then other things are happening now. So
yeah.
Oh no, I thought for sure it was CalArts.
Well, he just got accepted to RISD.
So
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Who doesn't
We
go
are
to
so
RISD?
proud of you.
Come on.
it's hard. Yeah, there's a lot of financial soul searching I'll be doing
in the next few.
Okay, so we are going to adjourn this meeting. It is 2:04, and I appreciate all of your input.
All
It
right.
was lovely. And we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully in
Okay.
person at some point.
Adios.
All right.
Have a-
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.